Welcome to the Passion Creative Podcast. My name is Leighton Ching. I am the creative director here at Passion, and I am joined today by two of our friends from our production team. So why don't we start off by introducing ourselves?
Awesome. Hi, I'm Mackenzie. I am the senior gathering producer here at Passion, and I have been on the team for about 5 years.
And I'm Taylor. I'm the global production director, and what that means is I get to lead the team with Mackenzie and get to lead all things for Passion City Church, Passion conferences, and really any expression of production in the live world here at Passion.
That's awesome. So how long have you guys been part of the team?
I actually came right after college as an intern for Passion City Church.
All right.
Did not do anything with production that year. That was 7 years ago now. And was actually rooted as a door holder after that internship, and then became a part of the team on the students team. I was the students producer on the production team. And have been on the team for 5 years now.
That's awesome. How about you, Taylor?
Yeah, I came on the team in 2016 and joined the team as the production manager. I got a call one day out of the blue from a guy named Ryan McCormick, who was the creative pastor at the time. Mm-hmm. Was like, hey, do you want to come join the team? And my wife and I lived up in Minneapolis. We were living our happy life. We thought we were going to be there forever. And then he called and said, hey, come down to Passion. Do you want to come be the production manager? And we came down, we fell in love. And now here we are. And it's been almost 6 years now. Mackenzie was actually my very first hire as I came on staff. And now here we are. But yeah, I've been here for the past 6 years, married, have a dog named Winston.
Wow. What kind of dog is it?
He's a golden retriever. Okay. And he ate our couch a couple years ago. And then I got a new couch. He's eating our Christmas tree. If you go on my Instagram, you'll see that I have a love-hate relationship with my dog, but I love him mostly now. So that's the important part. But been on the team now for 6 years and have just the honor of a lifetime leading the whole production crew on everything we do.
That's awesome. I think I want to follow back on one of the things you said. You said that you were living your best life, but in Minnesota.
Yeah.
How did those two go together?
No
offense
a valid
to Minnesota,
question.
but that is it's
cold
a
up there.
different. Yeah.
It's cold. It's really hot here. But what I love about Minnesota is you get to see the extremes of like every season. You get winter and you get negative 14 degrees or negative 25 degrees. You get summer and you get 105 degrees. You get everything in between. And so I love it because of that. But the winter is a sad, sad time. So that isn't when you're living your best life. You're living your best life in the summer.
Okay, awesome. So Ryan McCormick asked you to come down and join the team.
Yeah.
What did that look like, the process of getting that ask and then figuring out, do I want to move my family? Do I want to move my wife and my whole life down to Atlanta? Like, what were the things you processed for that?
Yeah, so I've been coming to Passion conferences since 2012. That was my very first Passion conference, which was 10 years ago. Passion 2022 was just a couple months ago, and it was a weird moment going my very first Passion 2012, and 10 years later, you're at Passion 2022. But I've been coming to 2012, I came to 2013, 14, 15. And so I was very used to Passion. It changed my life. Pastor Louis changed my life. A lot of what has just been preached and the songs that are kind of launched out of our house has just been a major part of my life for a long time. And so I knew about it, but I really didn't know people in it. And so when he called me one day, I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming at all. You know, I thought I was going to stay on staff at this church in Minneapolis. I'd built a team and built a production team going from 2 locations. Now we were at 6 locations. And I really thought I was going to be there forever. I was bought into the vision. I loved my pastor. And so when I got this call, I honestly told him no. We were like, we're not going to do that. Lauren, we just got married 8 months ago. Lauren is in Minneapolis. She's actually from Georgia. And we were there. And so we told him no. And we prayed a lot about it. And we were like, maybe there was something there. But we just kind of let it sit after we said no. And all of a sudden, a couple months later, he called me again. He's like, hey, come down to Passion. We just, no strings attached, just come down and see what it's all about. And again, I had known Passion, I'd been to Passion, I get the heartbeat of it. But we came down and we both immediately fell in love with it just because of the culture, the team, the people, what we were doing. And we realized, wait a second, God is calling us to be a part of what's going on here. And so we moved across the country and no turning back. You know, Lauren is part of our house and she does production too, but she does it out in the real world, if you will. I do it here in ministry, and it's just been a really awesome thing.
That's awesome. And you said your first hire was Mackenzie.
She was.
And at the time it was Mackenzie Albrecht.
Yep.
Is pronouncing that correctly?
Albrecht.
Yes. And now you're Mackenzie Collins, whose husband is somewhere here filming.
Yep. Kevin on the film team over there behind the camera.
Yep.
Yep, we got married just a little over a year ago. And so we met at work. He was on the film team and I was on the production team, and he had asked me out and I said no. A year and a half goes by. I realized, oh my gosh, I've been stupid. There he is. He's been there the whole time. And yeah, it's been really, really great to be married.
That's awesome. So both of you guys, in separate instances, have said no to things that eventually changed their life later on. What is one thing that you said yes to at your time at Passion that felt like a very solid yes, and like I'm so glad I said yes to this?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of my favorite yeses, and one of the ones that's changed the trajectory of my life, was actually after that year-long internship that I talked about right out of college. Like I said, I didn't do anything with production. I actually, at the time in college and afterwards, thought I wanted to be an event coordinator. So I had the honor and the privilege of interning with Misty Page on the conference team, and that was amazing. And then also getting to jump in with our community groups team. But then after that year, I knew that that wasn't really where God was taking me. And I didn't really know where that was going to be. And so I was in a season where yes was a really great answer. And one of my friends reached out and said, hey, I know you're not serving right now. The internship has ended. It's the summer. You've kind of got a 3-month break. What if you came and were a stage manager on the production team? And I was like, well, I don't know what that means. But sure, I'll be there. And the next Sunday, I was on the stage team and got to learn the basics of production from the ground up. And in that season of saying yes to being a stage manager and then being a producer in our kids' environment, the Lord just really revealed that I had all of the gifts and the talents inside of me that it took to be a producer. I just didn't know that yet because it hadn't been shown to me yet. So putting myself in that place where I could understand really how he's gifted me and how my gifts and talents align with the needs of the church was hugely life-changing. And obviously it's why I'm here now. Being a door holder producer in our kids and student spaces, then to coming on staff as the producer whose one job every week was to produce the student space and to make that excellent. And I learned excellence. I learned production. I learned about audio, video, lighting. And then now here I am 5 years later getting to lead a team of producers. And it's just been really amazing. I'm so grateful for that. Yes.
That's amazing. I love that you went into being a door holder just with the heart and the attitude of serving the house and not for the end goal to be a position on the team.
Totally.
But that through serving, you just were able to learn from some of the best that we have around and learn new skills and new talents that you didn't even know you had, that were so invaluable to us that we couldn't help but offer you a role on the team, as Taylor said.
Well, and what the coolest part about that whole story is Mac had no production experience before coming on our team. And so she'd done some work with the events team and was a part of figuring out one of the stories that you've told me before is you loved seeing at Passion how they distributed lunches in like a matter of 2 seconds. Like how do they get that efficiently in and out? And that was always like really intriguing to you. But it was cool seeing that kind of skill set of, hey, how do we make things efficient, turn into the production side of the world of, hey, how do we take this environment right now, enhance it, and really connect people to Jesus and point people to Jesus. And now Mac has gone from being just the students producer to now leading our entire producer team as our senior producer. That's a really cool thing, going from no production experience to now carrying a major part of that. Just shows that anybody can do production. It's not this thing that's all scary. I need to go to college. I need to have 20 years of experience. I need to be XYZ, all this experience to be able to pull this off. You have a real life story right here of someone who 6 years ago had no production experience, and now here she is, which is really, really cool.
So let's follow down that track. So if you don't need a college experience for that, if you don't need a ton of work experience for that, what are the qualities in somebody that would make a great production door holder or production team member? That some of the intangibles that are not necessarily going to learn in school.
I think a couple of things that come to mind real fast about that is one, you need to love production. You need to love creating experiences. You need to love, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be production. You need to love creating experiences together. So if that's going to be you in your living room creating an experience for people to walk into to host people, great. You need that skill set. If you want to go do that in a small ballroom somewhere, great. Go do that. Go find a couple lights. Go work with the venue and say, hey, you got any LED lights? Come make this that much better. Great. But I think you need to love creating experiences on any scale. I think the other thing is you need to be able to work really hard, and you need to love working really hard. Doing what we do in production is not easy. You go to any concert you go to, You go to the Justin Bieber concert coming up at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. There is a load of people who are going in early in the morning and loading that thing in all day long. And that's not a very fun job. But there's 400 or 500 people that are going to be there doing it. And in that same way, for church, there's going to be a bunch of people who are putting this whole thing up every single week. And there's not a lot of glamour around it, but there's a lot of hard work behind it. And so the reason that people put the hard work into this is because they want to see Jesus put on display, number one. But number two is they love creating experiences and environments for people to experience things together.
Yeah.
And so I think those two things between are just really helpful for people. And if you have that, you can jump into production and be amazing. Just dive in and do the nitty-gritty work on the smallest of scale and let that continue to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you want to answer the question on the yes, or do you want to move on from that?
Sure, I can take a stab at it. One of the yeses that changed me at Passion is when I first started in 2016, we were one location. We had 515.
Wow.
And we had a thriving door holder team.
Yep.
We had a team where on Sundays we had 3 different rotations across all of our different rooms. We had the auditorium 3 rotations. We had Passion Kids 3 rotations, Passion Students 3 rotations. And one of the unique things about Passion is we had a main auditorium full experience, but we also have that on Sunday in students with a full team, stage manager, lighting, audio, producer, the whole deal.
So many teams.
So many people.
Yeah.
And then you also have that same thing in Passion Kids. And so that I hadn't seen before, but it was awesome to step into something that was thriving and that had a group of people that loved serving with one another and they loved doing it with excellence. But then we were like, hey, our vision and is changing a little bit. We want to go expand beyond just 515. And so then we launched Cumberland and really figuring out how to take a thriving one team and go develop that and grow that across multiple locations to now today we have Cumberland and Trilith. That is a total mindset shift for us, for our door holders, and for me on how to lead a team towards how do you create unbelievable experiences in one space versus changing it in all of those spaces. And we're still figuring that out.
Totally.
But that was a major yes that I'm like, it was the right yes.
Right.
But it's been the hardest yes to really see through in the to the end.
Yeah, that's amazing. What I love about this conversation is that I noticed from both of your answers over the course of this conversation is that you guys spoke about Jesus a lot and you speak about excellence a lot. And I feel like in every conversation that we have, it's usually those two things that rise to the surface. So talk to me about excellence and why that matters to us. And especially on the production side, you guys are the visual representation of our church to a lot of people on Sundays and at events. Tell me why excellence, why you keep a standard of excellence that's high, and that some may think it's demanding, some may think that is a little too much, but why do we value excellence so much?
I think as a creative team, as a holistic creative team, between creative, film, production, marketing, Pastor Louis on Sundays, the hosts, everybody who's working together to create an experience, our entire vision statement for that team is we exist to awaken hearts and minds to see and savor Jesus. And as a production team, we sit under that just like all those other teams do to make that a reality.
Right.
And we really think that in production, our space is to take what everybody's doing. If that's going to be the worship team on Sunday, they can stand up on the stage and lead their hearts out. But without the production to enhance that or to really go bring it to people in a fresh way, it's not going to have impact. And so for us, we define excellence as a couple different things. We define it as doing things really, really well, doing things unique that maybe other people aren't doing. And so if it's going to be, hey, how do we go play this video? Like this LED wall behind us is not just a 16:9 LED wall. It's a random shape. Why do we do that? Because we want to be unique and we want to do it really, really well. And between those two things, we think that those make up excellence as a whole. Do it well and do it unique. And there's gonna be some times that it doesn't go well and it's too unique and it's like, ooh, that was a little far-fetched, like out there. But sometimes it's not. And we want to find that balance beam of like, how do we fight for that excellence in the middle of everything? I think tie that together with we as a team exist to point people to Jesus. So if you're at the booth at any of our locations, you're going to see our team is worshiping.
Yes.
And the reason we're worshiping is because our team needs to be thinking about everybody's experience in that space, going, hey, how do I enhance this experience right now, like right here in this moment? So that person that I'm looking at 3 feet in front of me can have a real encounter with Jesus.
Yeah.
And so as the producer, you're thinking about that. As the lighting guy, you're thinking about that. As the audio person, you're going, great, the snare's too loud. We need to pull that snare back a little bit. Why? Because it's distracting and it's keeping this person in front of me from having a genuine encounter with Jesus.
Yeah.
So we think if we can nail all of those different things of going, hey, how do we do things really, really well? How do we do things unique? And how are we all thinking through the lens of that person that's sitting in those chairs having an encounter with Jesus? We found that helps us stay aligned in that.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. I think whether you do production or you don't, you know that whenever a production goes well, people don't really notice. That's the goal, at least.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Whenever things go off the rails, that's whenever it gets distracting in the space. And so a lot of the time, what excellence looks like for us is actually being so prepared that we can be flexible, that we're going wherever the Spirit wants the room to go. And so if that means that Pro Presenter has, every possible song that the worship leader has thought about this week loaded and ready to run, then that's what we're going to do. And we're going to be ready to follow the Spirit wherever we want to go, so that we can create the experience in the space that isn't distracting and that allows people to have that real encounter with Jesus, that it's just them and Jesus and what's happening on the stage, and what we're doing at front of house is enhancing what's happening on the stage so that people are able to connect more fully with him.
I love that.
Yeah.
Taylor, you kind of skipped ahead and touched on a point that I wanted to bring up, which is awesome because it is very much a part of the culture of production team, is that I think when we ask people like who are the worship leaders in the room, most people would think that it's just the people on stage who are leading, who have a microphone, who are maybe either playing or leading a song or singing. But when I think about our production team, and I think when our team thinks about our production team, we also feel like you guys are also worship leaders, because there's been many times where I've been at front of house in the back of the room, which is such a weird thing to call it front of house in the back of the room. But in the back of the room, I'm back there and I am engaging with church that's happening, but I'm also watching this production team, and mainly it's Mac, not mainly, but a lot of times it's
Mac's leading the way.
She's leading the way and she's producing, but she's there, she's standing up, she's engaged with what Pastor Louis is saying, she's engaged with the worship. And what you're doing is that you have an arm raise and you are worshiping. I don't know how many photos I've taken of people back there. Might be creepy. It might not, but I have photos. I'm like, man, this is like the heart of our team. Like if our team in the production world back here, where no one's seeing them, they're the very back row of our house. If they're the ones worshiping, then we're doing something right. We're doing something right, and we're leading the way from the back. And we are adopting a posture of worship and reverence and just a love and adoration for Jesus. All the way from the back. And that no one else really is going to see unless they turn around and see you doing that. But that's the thing I love the most, is that it's not for people to see. And that you guys have raised up a team of worshipers who just happen to be lighting directors, who just happen to be producers, who just happen to be people who work in the shadows. And I love that.
Well, I think it's so easy to have a production team production people as a whole are mostly technical people. It's like there's a black and white way of doing everything. You do A to B to C, linear thinkers. I'm a linear thinker. I live in a sea of creatives and I'm the linear thinker in it. And it's really easy to get skeptical or even like hard-hearted for production teams. I think we've all seen production teams. I've been a part of production teams that are kind of like hard-hearted to like, hey, I'm here to do a thing. I'm here to have the gig. I'm going to come in. I'm going to go. And like, peace. Well, we really want to fight against that because, like I said before, we are just as much as part of this experience as Pastor Louis bringing the word or our worship team leading the people. We're bringing that all to life. And so for our team, we really reject that mentality of, hey, we're going to be cynical and hard-hearted and, oh, that wasn't that great, or hey, this isn't worth us putting this effort in. And a couple ways we do that. One is we ask our team to just constantly be thinking, like I said before, how do we enhance this space? And you're never going to be able to enhance a space if you yourself are not engaging with what's happening in the space. So that's number one. But number two is we pray as a team before each gathering in the control room, where we'll have, not before each gathering, but before each day. We'll do it in the morning. and we'll pray in the control room, and we'll all pray out loud and just ask God to do a miracle in that day. And we'll just pray for encounter. We'll pray for God to do what only he can do, and to really use what we're bringing to the table for his glory.
Yeah.
And it's not just like we're all standing there in the corner kind of like praying, and some people aren't praying. It's like, no, you have production people, which as a whole, production people are weird. I'm weird. There's weird production people, and that's like, that's not a secret.
There's weird artists.
Everyone knows that. Yeah. But these weird production people are praying out loud next to each other, believing for something to happen in these next few hours. And then that equips them to go out, and then let's go engage with that to really see that through. And let's really believe that God's going to do something.
Yeah.
And I love being a part of a team that does that and believes for that. And refuses to just settle for what the world would say would be a quote unquote typical production culture.
Yeah. That's great.
And I never want to grow hard-hearted to not be able to see what God's doing in the room. And so we try to always lead our team around being excellent in your craft. But we always talk about the moment whenever there's one hand on the console and one hand in the air, like you talked about. It's that moment where the whole team realizes that all of these different parts are coming together, and it's gelling and it's working, and there's something happening in the space, and the Lord is on the move, and people are seeing Jesus, and we want to be a part of that too. Like, I never want those moments to just roll by me and me not have an actual moment with the Lord whenever he can invite us into that while we're doing our craft. A lot of the time people think that you can't worship and do production at the same time, but there actually is so much space in our day and in a gathering and in a session for you to find that moment where maybe your comm headset comes off for this one song because you know that everything's going to be okay for this one song, and I can be off.
And if it's not, you can put it back on in half a second.
Right. And if you can put it back on, you can jump back in. But it's important for us to have that posture of, this is not just for the people coming into this space. This is for me. The Lord wants to meet with me now. Jesus wants to meet with me today. And he wants to meet with everyone at front of house. He wants to meet with the camera team. He wants to meet with the people in the control room that are backstage. It's not just limited to those who are coming to church, because this is also our house. And we want to be aware of what the Lord's doing in it.
Well, one thing that you said too is, you said our team, sometimes they can't engage because they're so worried about what's going on in front of them. And that's a very real thing for some new people. You know, if you're brand new to production, you're going, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about the 28 things that I think I need to do in front of me. But like, there's another 28 things that I don't even know I'm supposed to be doing. So I got to be really paying attention. Like, you're holding on to the wheel, like, okay, I can't let go. I can't let go. And so for us, we try and get those developmental seasons through quickly, because that's a sign to us that, hey, you're not really ready yet to go carry what you're carrying, because when you are where you need to be, you will have margin to go worship. You will have margin to go experience what the people are experiencing. You will have margin to go think through and process, like, hey, what is God doing right here, right now? And that's so, well, for a couple of reasons. Number one is because we want people to be able to enhance that. But number two, if all of a sudden Pastor Louis is feeling like the Spirit's doing something and needs to interrupt a worship set, we need to be ready to go ebb and flow with that and go say, hey, here comes Pastor Louis. And he didn't warn us, he didn't tell us, but we want to be Spirit-led enough that we can make that look like it's been planned for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I think that's an important point that you bring up, because I think a lot of people in church world as a whole go, man, I need to have everything planned out in front of me, and I need to make sure I check off and I do this to-do list perfectly from A to Z. We really want to get that to-do list out the door. And we really want our to-do list to take up 30% of our energy, so we can have whatever's left ready to ebb and flow and to really enhance the experience.
Yes, that's great. I think a lot of it comes down to being excellent in the preparation, because when you prepare, you're able to have that. And I love that, what you said, Mac, of one hand on the console and one hand, in the air in worship. That should be a talk, by the way, at Lyft. You should do a breakout on that.
Great. Sign me up.
But I do think it's a being prepared for that moment, which allows you to engage and be present. So it's preparation and present. And we want both.
Yes.
That's true.
It's great. So we just finished a few months ago one of the biggest events / gatherings that we've ever done as a team. And that was Passion 2022 at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I think we're all still thinking about it, and probably a lot more than we thought we would think about it. That was no easy feat. I think to load in a massive LED wall and rigging and sound systems and everything, probably more that we didn't see went into it than what we actually saw.
Maybe so.
Tell me about that process.
Yeah.
And maybe not the entire thing, because that would take way too long. But why don't we talk about some of the takeaways that you've had from that?
Yeah.
As you've been processing it, things that you loved about it, things that you would do differently next time, and maybe even just some takeaways that someone from a church in Minnesota would be able to apply.
Stop acting like it's in the middle of nowhere. Minnesota people,
I don't know the shape of Minnesota.
Yeah, okay, well, that's a problem.
Head.
I'll show you that.
So,
oh my gosh.
We'll look that up later. But I think if you maybe just some takeaways that would apply, whether it's a large, massive stage like at the Bends, or a smaller stage like here at Cumberland, or a small stage in Minnesota, what are some takeaways that you've learned and your team has learned from doing something that sizable, that size of an event?
Yeah.
That could be applied to everything we're doing.
Yeah, I think for us, we always joke like we're just a bunch of like nobody's producing this massive event and responsible for this production, and it's an honor, truly an honor of a lifetime, to production manage and be responsible for production on such a scale like Mercedes-Benz Stadium for Passion 2022. And so we have been doing that. Mac and I actually have been leading the way on production for Passion conferences since 2018. And really Mac and I kind of ahead of conference take care of a lot of the advance and a lot of the paperwork and a lot of the planning for all of that. So if that's crew rosters, if that's working with the designers on what is the production design going to look like, we kind of start that off about a year ahead. And so Mac and I have been through the highs and the lows, but with Passion 2022 in the middle of COVID, there isn't anybody else really doing stadium events. Right. You know, there's a couple here or there, but they're not at this scale. They're not with this many people, and they're not with this production scale. Yeah. And so we were planning on how to do that. And so we really bolstered up our crew, and we tried to make sure that we had that as planned as possible. And the name of the game for Passion Conference is, how do you be as prepared as humanly possible? How do you not just think through, hey, here's the plan in front of me, but the amount of hours Mac and I will just sit down with each other and go, great, what else could happen? Let's talk about a B plan. Let's talk about a C plan. Let's talk about a D plan.
And documenting
them all out so that when we get to the Bends or when we get to the venue, we're able to pivot with things, because things just don't go to plans. That's just live events. That's not just conferences. That's not just church. That's just live events as a whole. Yep. And so for us, the name of the game is really figuring out what are the different things that could happen and how do we plan for them all really well. And so that has helped us, and we will continue to do that. Another couple of takeaways would be, number one, doing events in COVID. Hard, and plan for more attrition than you think. Yep. And if people are going to get sick or people aren't able to make it or whatever, plan for that.
You're talking about staffing-wise?
Staffing-wise, yeah.
Attendance. Okay.
So I think we overestimated what we could get done. If you were at Passion, you saw that first night there was some LED wall tiles out, and it was what it was. We got it in, but it wasn't 100% done just because we lost some people and the timing kind of got away from us. And so overall, in the middle of COVID, doing events, just plan for more attrition than maybe what you're planning on the staffing side. Other things in the event that we've loved and took away that we really loved was the overall just design of it. We work with a really talented designer, Nathan Taylor, out of the UK, a good friend of Passion. He's designed Passion since 2017, and he created the design called the Shard, and it was amazing. You look at it, and it was just really cool to see it all come together and just enhance the entire experience. And there's music videos that you can see. There's LED floor on the floor. There's LED walls behind, and he just is a pretty amazing guy and what he's able to accomplish and do. So the design was amazing. The crewing was tough just because we lost a lot of people due to just attrition. And then just being ready to pivot on things. Sometimes at Passion, every year at Passion, a lot of people come to me after the events like, that was amazing. And I'm like, was it?
Are you sure?
Are you sure it was good? Because I just felt problem after problem after problem after problem after problem.
As a leader, that's what
as a leader, you're right. Yeah, I have to remind myself of that. But what also helps of all of that is all of the planning that goes in to be able to pivot with all of those things. And so Passion this year was not unlike any other year where there was constant pivot after pivot after pivot. And who knows how to do something in COVID when we've never done that before.
Yeah.
And so it was an amazing year at Passion 2022, for sure. No doubt. Were there a lot of issues? Yes. Were there a lot of issues every other year? Yes. Do I always feel like there's a lot of issues?
Yes.
That's my job though.
Yeah.
And, but was it amazing? It did literally thousands come to know Jesus in those days.
So
yes.
beautiful.
And are the music videos, am I really proud of what we were able to accomplish? Yes.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen any, I would encourage anyone to go back and watch them. They look really, really,
Yeah.
really amazing.
Really good.
Very
That's
cool.
awesome. Production, you guys are typically all wearing black all the time. Why are you wearing black all the time?
Because we want to blend in.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
We
It's
want to be
simple.
able to move around and not be distracting. It's speaking to the same thing I was talking about where, we want to, when a stage manager comes on stage and has to, help fix a guitar or something or pull the table off or whatever, we want to be able to move around and be as distraction free as possible.
That's great. So you want to move around, be distraction free as possible, and blend in. How do you develop a culture that is filled with people who are okay with being in the background? A lot of people feels like want to fight for the spotlight and maybe want to strive to be someone who's seen and known. How do you make sure people are seen and known, but their position and what they're asked to do is to be unseen, not unknown, but unseen? What kind of culture have you established, or what are some ways that you've done that? So the people who are always behind the scenes, who are in rooms that no one even knows exist, in a control room and maybe not even in the physical room here, how do we ensure as a team that they are taken care of, loved, seen, and not forgotten?
Yeah, so every Monday morning we have a production team meeting where our staff comes back. It's our whole entire production team. One of the things I love is our production team is one production team, and we kind of divide and conquer across all of our locations here in Atlanta. And the very first thing we do every single week is we'll spend 5 to 10 minutes on just saying, hey, what are some celebrations? Where I'm not going to say any. I'm just going to wait for the team to call each other
I hear
out.
that, because that's when you guys are yelling in the conference
Yes,
room.
Most of the
yes.
time,
When
yes.
we're yelling,
Yeah, okay.
clapping.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's that. And so we'll spend 5 to 10 minutes of every single meeting, to the point that I want to be made fun of for how the awkward pauses are when we run out of things to do. If we're
there's
under
still
10
more to
minutes, I'll be
celebrate.
like, we still got 4 minutes, folks. And we'll just sit there quietly until people think of it.
That's awesome.
And that's one way we do it. We celebrate the little things. Hey, there was an event at Cumberland and there were lights out in the oval and they were hung up really, really well. And
The cabling was beautiful.
And it looked beautiful. Great job. Who did that? Oh, great. Jonathan,
Thank you.
great work.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
And just spending some time doing that. The other piece we do culturally that we said is production exists to support other teams. And so we talked about this a little bit earlier of how we work alongside worship, we work alongside creative, we work alongside our pastors, the hosts, all those people to create a gathering. But really we sit under all of that to hold them up and to support them in what we need. And so as a production team, we also see, we really fight to be seen when that person does well and they win, we feel that wind.
Yes,
And
sure.
we feel the wind when a worship leader wins or when worship goes off and because of how they're leading or the anointing on their life, or when Pastor Louis has an amazing talk and there's some illustrations on the LED wall or on the screen, or there's a prop that he used and people come to know him in that, we feel the wind in that. And so we're constantly talking about the wins of like, hey, what did each of us individually do? But also, what are we doing as an organization or as a bigger picture or as a team? And how do we feel the wind? And not forget that would not have been possible if Jacob didn't do XYZ for that thing. And so not making it all about ourselves, but making it about, hey, how are we as a house pushing the message forward? And feeling that win in that has been really important for us.
I love that.
And we just have the best people. I mean, our staff and our door holders are not in it for the recognition. And I think you're going to burn out in a second if you're in church production to be recognized, because it's just not the name of the game. Like we are here, like Taylor said, to support other teams and to elevate the message and the mission of the house. And so people who are elevating are underneath, they're not on top. And so you're carrying something. You're carrying something in all black, in the back, in the dark. But yeah, our people just love to pour into what our house gets to do. And it's really exciting whenever something is exported, say a talk from Sunday, and one of our camera door holders shouts out the camera door holder who got the shot that was really hard and impossible when Louis kneeled down, and he didn't tell us he was going to kneel down, but they did a really great job following him, and the camera work was amazing. It's really fun whenever people celebrate each other and just say, I know that, you know, the person in Idaho that's watching Louis talk on a Thursday in 3 years is going to have zero idea that you got here at 6 a.m. on a Sunday and you have been honing your craft for years so that follow was seamless. But I know that. And so I want to call that out. I want to recognize you. And I just want to say, great job. Thanks for being a part of our team. Thanks for, you know, learning your craft and being excellent. And those moments are just so rewarding and encouraging, and our people just love to celebrate each other.
I love that.
And I think the Jesus stories that come from that, when we hear those, where it's like, hey, I live in some country around the world and I watched this talk, and you're like, wait, that talk, when was that talk? That talk was
3
like
years
3
ago.
or 4 years ago. And they're experiencing it yesterday for the very first time. And they came to know the Lord because of it. Taking that story back to our team, everyone just feels the wind in that, and everyone feels seen and heard and loved by that. So the Jesus stories on the other side really fuel what we do and what a lot of our door holders in the heart of what we do.
I love that. I think you guys do such a great job with the production team of creating a family among your production door holders that a lot of them have been around for so long, and we see them in the halls of 515 throughout the week. At random times because they just want to be here and they like being here, and they do feel like family. Why don't we shout out a couple of them? You're like, hey, these are people who are amazing. Not that everyone else isn't amazing, but right now, these are a couple people that I think are doing an amazing job.
Killing it. Yeah. Kristen Orr has run a camera for, I think, 7 years now.
Wow.
She's amazing, and she's just a great culture builder on our team. She loves people really well. Shane Ewing does just about everything in video world.
Shane's been around
Shader,
forever.
Switcher. He runs every camera that there is. Michael Nobles, same story. He's amazing. He's one of our great video directors, but can run any camera. He runs the jib like a boss. Karen Jackson has been on our team for forever.
Everyone thinks she's on staff, but
she's amazing.
No, but she's here enough, and she carries everything we do similarly, as if she is getting a paycheck, but she just wants to devote her life and her time and her skill set.
She's amazing. Yeah. There's so many. I could just keep going, but I mean, our team is just incredible, and we love them.
Yeah, I mean, we really could go on and on and on about the people that are owners of our house and the people that are here almost every single week. We have a lot of door holders who come and serve every Sunday because they want to serve every Sunday. Not because they have to, not because they're like, oh, I have nothing else to do. They have very important jobs carrying big things. We have one guy who replay produced the Super Bowl. We have another guy who works at a major TV network in town who carries a humongous part of that. He has a humongous job there, but he's still here on Sunday. Meanwhile, he has a job Monday through Friday that is incredibly intense, filled with pressure, but he's here almost every single Sunday.
Wow.
And it's not like these people are just like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm coming in. These people have major stuff going on, and they're here because they love what we're doing, and they are just so bought in to the message that's going out to the world. And
every now and then we have to tell them, hey, you have to take a Sunday off.
This
Sunday is your Sunday.
To have.
Yeah.
We're like, no more.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's amazing that we have so many people who are just bought in and are leaning their entire lives into helping serve and build the church on our production team. So it's cool to sit here and talk through the many people that we have behind the scenes. But the reality is that there are churches out there where everybody doing all those things, producing, shading, setting up cameras, running sound, is only one person, or maybe a team of two people. And we don't know what that is like for them, but what is a way that you can encourage someone who's listening to this? He might be the sole person who's in charge of all production, and maybe even production, design, creative, video. It's one person, and they're listening to this and say, that's great for you guys, but for me, it's me. And I'm wearing 12 hats right now. Why don't you just encourage them? Or
I mean, my word to you would be, first off, amazing job to you. And that's a heavy thing to carry. And you are doing an amazing job, I'm sure. And your pastor needs you and loves you and is really relying on you, which comes with a lot of weight. But when I've been there before I worked at the church in Minnesota, I worked at another church when I was in high school, and I was the one and only guy. And part of that was figuring out how do you not collapse or crumble underneath the weight of everything your pastor needs of you. And I think for me, what helped tons was finding one person that could be my person in door holder land.
Yep.
And so if in our world, we call them door holders, in your world, at that time, it was a volunteer. And so just find one person. If that's someone's in the high school ministry who's into computers, great. If that's someone who wants to go figure out how to go, they love going to Best Buy and figuring out how to hook up a surround sound system, great. But go find one person to invest in. Go take them to lunch. Go make them your person that you can go rely on in the same way that your pastor can rely on you. Make that someone that you can rely on. And I think you will be really amazed when you go from just you to one person to then someone else will see it and go, wow, I wish I was part of that.
Yeah.
And now you'll have 2 people, you'll have 3 people. And before you know it, there'll be someone who's running the audio console, and it might not be you. You might not also be turning on the pastor's mic while running ProPresenter. You'll be like, great, you can have this person do ProPresenter. And slowly but surely your team will evolve and grow bigger. And don't think that happens fast. Like, don't let us fool you.
Yeah.
Our team, especially post-COVID, we're rebuilding everything.
Totally.
We talked about a 3-team rotation early on. We don't have 3 teams worth of people right now. We're rethinking, do we even want to do the 3 teams thing? Or is that going to be too big of a commitment for people in this post-COVID world? So we're rethinking a lot of that. But I say all that, just don't get discouraged if your team's not growing super fast.
Yeah.
Be content with the one person. Go give them a lot. Go give them more than you even think they should have, and watch them carry it and rise and run.
That's great.
I think you'll be happy that you did.
Yeah. It's important to just be consistent and keep building. And then whenever you build something that people want to be a part of, they'll want to jump in.
Yeah.
So Mackenzie, why don't you encourage a young person who's kind of just getting started in production world?
Yeah, I love that. I think back to my first couple of months in production as a door holder and then on the staff team. I think what's so important in that season is, one, to be committed to your local church and rooted.
Great.
I was serving as much as possible. I was a stage manager one week, a kids producer the next week, a students producer the next week, and then the 4th week I took a break. But it's important to come around as much as possible. And then as soon as I jumped up on staff, my goal was to be around the technical side as much as humanly possible, because that I knew that was knowledge that I lacked. And so set changes, if I was done with my duties for students producing for the week, I was at the set change and I was moving truss and I was figuring out how to plug in DMX. I didn't even know the difference between, DMX and all the other things in the world. But it's important to, as a producer, to have that technical knowledge. And so the more you can just be around and say, my yes is on the table, I'm available, tell me where you want me to put it. And I'll be more than happy to, come and just learn as much as possible.
Love that. My yes is on the table and I'm available.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's a great way to end this. And thank you, Taylor and Mackenzie, for joining us on the Passion Creative Podcast. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys around.
Thanks.
Thank you.